Mark, congratulations on your success with your best-selling book, The PACE Process. Tell us what that means.
Thanks, Lisa. I appreciate it. Yeah, that was my passion project. I always wanted to write a book and put pen to paper a few years back, and it was a lot of fun to write the book. And what I wanted to do was really incorporate a lot of the learnings that I experienced throughout my career, but also weave in a lot of my personal, behaviors, right? So I feel that this current workforce, or the Gen Zs, sometimes get a bad rap. They're perceived to be lazy or not hardworking and entitled, and there's a certain it's right, people are right in that regard, right? I mean, I've enabled my kids, right? Everyone kind of wants their kids to all succeed, so they learn these behaviors, and when it goes into the workforce, you just can't behave that way, right? Because people have higher and different expectations. So the book was really a culmination of really some tough love, some of the things that I learned sort of an old school way around, if you fall down, pick yourself back up. Again, a cliche, don't take no for an answer, try to figure out, the best way to get to the solution. But also the tactical strategies that you need to do in today's workplace to be different, to be seen, to be branded as, the best person you can be. And a lot of these young professionals just weren't doing that, right? They weren't really, I'll call it, buttoned up from a standpoint of their personal go-to-market around getting a job, right? They didn't have the right approach. They didn't prepare for these interviews. They didn't apply the skills they had, right? They didn't really think about ways to commit to, the goal in hand. So those are some of the things that, I put together in this book, and it was a lot of fun.
Let's talk about your professional background and how that shaped and inspired you to create the PACE process.
With my background, I've really been fortunate enough to work with some great people, some great companies, some not so great companies. So I learned a lot along the ride, and I took little pieces of those learnings and tried to incorporate them into the book, right? So I had some great people that spoke in the book or wrote with me in the book around some of the experiences they have around developing talent, or what you need to do as a young professional to grow in your career or make a decision to move along in your career. So I think it's really my 30 plus years of experience of seeing different situations, different organizations, different people on how they progress in their career, and really took the best and tried to move away from what some of the worst might be in some of the performance and some of the ways people, move forward in their career and up the corporate ladder.
Let's talk about what PACE stands for.
The hashtag PACE process for early career success is designed to help you unlock the mindset, traits, and techniques needed to plan, apply for, commit to, and evaluate your ideal career path. When you look at the acronym PACE, obviously you need to plan for the role you want to go after or the people you're going to speak to. You want to apply to that role and be as organized and ready to do that, whether it's interview skills or best resume, LinkedIn profile. You want to commit to the role once you get into that company. What do I need to be to become my most successful self? And then evaluate along the way, right? So stay in the job, stay in the role, but every 6, 9, 12 months, where am I in my career? What do I need to do differently to move up or be better or add more value in this current company? Or is it time to take a look at something else?
How did your journey as the founder of Core Access Consulting influence the creation of PACE process?
Yeah, thanks for asking that question, Lisa. When we were building Core Access, we were implementing and designing a lot of leadership development programs, a lot of onboarding and new hire programs, a lot of executive coaching cohorts. And we saw a lot of companies that just weren't prepared. They just didn't have the right processes, the right people from a standpoint of people being able to execute on these programs. And I wanted to build, again, a way for people to learn about the best practices around developing new talent, right? And performance management and onboarding. So the PACE process was really born out of a lot of the experiences I had with a lot of companies who had those gaps, and a lot of the successes that we built at Core Access to fill those gaps. And then what that did was it cascaded to the Gen Zers, who we saw as being the biggest challenge or the biggest outliers, because the feedback we were getting from our talent leaders or our leadership development partners was, we don't know how to motivate the Gen Zers. We don't know how to onboard the Gen Zers. They're different. They come in with a different attitude or a different mindset. And I'm like, I need to try to figure that out and solve for it. So I wrote a book on it.
So you just wrote a book on it. All right. So what are some of the key insights that you gained from your career that you've implemented into the PACE process?
Yeah, so I think a lot of the things I've implemented into the PACE process are more of the behavioral aspects of what I think it takes to be a successful person in the workforce. So again, it's just a lot of the things I like to talk about, which is have grit, have resilience, don't ever give up. Again, a lot of the cliches I talk about in a lot of these podcasts or conversations, but you really need to look inside and figure out how you're going to better yourself every day and how you're going to make an impact at the organization every day. And I think a lot of those values and behaviors are inherent in the way that you were potentially raised or what you learn. They're learned behaviors, but you also can do some self-reflection and some self-learning to become the best person you can be, right? So be prepared, do some of the little things, be a team player, all of those things that, again, come from that mindset. I believe that might have missed out a little bit in these Gen Zers, and I'm just trying to instill a lot of those behaviors back into that group.
Let's take a step back, and you're putting pen to paper, and you know that you want to develop the PACE process. What were some of your initial steps, some of your initial methods, some of the things going through your mind?
Yeah, so when I wrote the book, again, it's you got to start somewhere. So I started talking to some people, and people I trusted, some old mentors. And I said, hey, if I wrote a book on this, what do you think? Or would you read it? Or who would you give it to? And they're like, oh, my kid can use a book like this, or my kid can, use a kick in the butt, or get some external voice instead of me saying, hey, so-and-so, you need to do these 3 things before you go for a job. Maybe someone else can talk about it. And look, there's been a lot of career books written and resumes and interview guides and all these. I am not necessarily recreating the wheel, but I feel like based on a lot of the input I received, not just from friends, family, and all the support, but also the context that I learned from these companies that were implementing and building these really high-performing onboarding leadership programs. I'm like, wow, if we could just take that and distill it down into a process that someone could understand coming right out of college or a couple years out of college, that's the type of book I want to write. And then sprinkle in some of those, let's toughen up and don't take no for an answer. If somebody says you're not going to get the job, or I'm not going to interview you, or they don't respond to your resume, and you really want that job, what do you need to do to go get that interview? Right? You need to kind of go around the back door or do some creative thinking around, what do I need to do, instead of just saying, oh, I didn't get the job or I didn't get the interview. Figure it out and don't take no for an answer. So those are some of the other things that I tried to put into the book as well.
The PACE process, outsider looking in, and I've listened to it on Audible as well. I feel like you have taken life lessons, how to be a good, citizen and person, and then married it with business strategy. Because we've got to be very careful what bag of tricks we bring into the sandbox.
Right. Yeah, I think you're spot on. Again, I think some of the reviews that we received is exactly what you just said, right? It's a combination of the business tactics, but also, the personal aspect of kind of how you just be a good human, how you be a strong communicator, how you prepare to be successful, whether it's, with your friends and family or in business, right? So I think those two combinations are exactly spot on, and I'm proud to say that we've done it. It took an army to kind of help support me in writing the book, but I'm proud of the outcome, and I think it's got a lot of legs, right? Because every year students graduate from college, right? Whether it's undergrad or grad, and everyone wants to get into the workforce. Look, this book isn't for everybody, right? There's some incredible people out there that are blue collar workers, right? Firefighters, policemen. This might not be the right book for them, although some have read the book and said, wow, I learned something from this, because again, all of these people work in these organizations or companies, and they have a lot of the same challenges. But it's really meant for a young professional who's kind of just out of college, kind of getting their feet wet early in their career. And I think it's a lot of good advice, and that's what people are saying, and I'm proud to say I'm happy about it.